A lot of questions about appropriate staffing, and that was my big thing, right? Because all of a sudden we've got a very large middle school, very similar to numbers of like an East Ridge Middle. So we want to make sure that it's going to be a heavy lift for the team that's there. And we want to make sure that they're appropriately staffed on the front end. So, whether it be in the classroom, in support areas, safety, security, whatever the necessary needs are, is that we really take that into consideration as we move forward and transition. Transportation, what does that look like, right? Because now you've got folks that used to walk to school and now might ride buses to school, and how does that impact us? So I'm working with Mr. Fender. His initial analysis of it, he's like, this is not going to be a problem, and it's not going to be more costly. So and then also, what does our stakeholder communication plan look like? When we leave here today, we're going to get with staff immediately today, and you'll see that a little bit later, because we feel like board's got to know everything first, and then next up is our boots on the ground at the schools. So and also working with Ms. Owens' department to make sure that we're communicating with our municipalities, with our families and local folks that also love and care about all of their Leesburg students. We do the job of it, but man, there's so many people that invest and are very considerate of that feeder pattern, that I really think, if the messaging is correct and accurate and timely, that they're going to be just as excited as we are about providing advanced opportunities for these kids. So all that being said, I'm sure you guys will have questions and additional considerations that come along. So if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and invite.
I got a question on the communication plan before we,
absolutely,
because that's your last bullet there. When you talk about communication plan, we're informing them of this is what we're doing, or this is more of a session where we're collecting the feedback from the community to build that buy-in and make sure that this is something they want to see.
Well, I think it's a little of both, right? But because of timeliness,
right?
If we're gonna do this effectively, there is going to be some communication of this is what we're planning to do. But I think it's not leaving them to make up the reasoning on their own is a big key in that, and helping them understand that this is why, with the primary focus on the student experience and the expansion of opportunities for those kids. This is the why behind what we're planning to do, and here's how you can be a part of that, and here's how you can continue to be a valuable stakeholder. Because I really, not only do I think the opportunities for the kids are going to expand, I also think the opportunity for the community is going to expand. We've got a lot of people in Leesburg area, and all of our areas, but Leesburg area especially, that are dying to get into our schools and assist and help out. And this hopefully is gonna merge the community together, right? Ms. Dudley, she talks about we are Leesburg, right? That's what she's mentioned a couple times in our brainstorming sessions. So I think this will bring that we are Leesburg mentality to it, and really gather input into the plans. Is probably a better way to say it.
Have we done any sort of preliminary work and discussions with the community to make sure that we're not going to be met with a surprise opposition, and then suddenly we're...
So I've had some discussions with key stakeholders to, hey, what are your feelings if we looked at a few different things and ways of doing this? I don't think there's not anything on record like an official, open house meeting to this time, but we've got those planned also. But the initial impact is, we're really around what it used to be as far as merging that student body. It'll be more of a gathering together and students, feeling on equal playing field, and that everybody getting the same opportunities. Those are some of the real initial bits of feedback that I've gotten so far. Everybody wants to know about leadership. So I think those are things we'll have to talk to, but really just kind of, planting a couple seeds and asking a few questions. I have not gotten any negative feedback so far.
And I asked that question just through the lens of, because a number of years ago, there was this conversation from school and district leaders about merging ACA and Cypress Ridge, and talked about how it would be so great to, to have this enhanced, basically one school across across East Avenue. And then I think people were surprised when the community was not in favor of that. And so I want to avoid the same sort of situation where we, run down this hole of this is going to be, because I certainly see all the benefits. I mean, there's no doubt I see them, but I just don't know if the community is embracing them as well. And so I think that's where I want to have that confidence.
Well,
The
I
community is
think
bought in.
that how we get out and deliver the communication of what our plans are is going to be key. I think we're dealing with is quite a different scenario than what you would see with the Cypress Ridge and Aurelia Cole. With just being how different those two particular schools were, and so much change at once, right? Because we know all those kids at Cypress Ridge aren't necessarily zoned for Cypress Ridge, and we know that all of a sudden going from a Claremont Middle to really our first dabbling into a K-8, and what does that look like, and having the same grade levels right across the street from each other, but is that the right model, or the different things that we explore at that time? So I think I hear what you're saying. I think we definitely need to make sure that the community understands what our plans are, but I feel like I anticipate that we're not going to run into quite the adversity that we ran into in that situation.
Let me take a second and recognize we have the leader of Leesburg, Mayor Barry. Thank you very much for coming. And if we could call on you to speak when you feel comfortable, we'll listen to the presentations, and then you can come up and give us absolutely from the community side your perspectives. That'd be amazing.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, well, this time, Mr. Feltner, stay here.
Can you just click the next button though?
I can do that.
Slide. Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Morning.
All right. I just want to recognize Mrs. Dudley. She's been instrumental in the team, the conversation, just sitting with leaders and knowing and understanding what they want. And you're going to actually have an opportunity to listen to them. We're just speaking from the teaching and learning side, is saying what advantages this may bring to students and to staff. So you see we have 6 bullet points at the top. We're just going to touch on a few of those advantages. So when you think of like expanded academic opportunities, at 2 schools, one being, that 500 and 650, right around those numbers right now, it does generate some concerns, some issues, some problems with having a small staff. And I think they would agree with that. The opportunities for kids when it comes to electives. Students really don't have a choice. They pretty much get a schedule, and because of the staffing and the opportunity, they get this schedule. Having a larger school provides more opportunities. Ms. Randall's already touched on if we can actually create a robust culinary program that feeds into the high school, it would be an exceptional opportunity. Students don't have that right now. We offer Spanish on one campus. We don't offer Spanish on another campus. This would allow having the same opportunities for the students of Leesburg. I love when Renee does say, hey, we are Leesburg, trying to create that sense of community, and that is one of ours. How do you create a stronger school culture? On campuses right now, there are several, we use the term in our language is singletons, where it's just one subject. I have one teacher, and I might be only teaching two sections of it, and then I have to jump to some other section. This would allow for more continuity as far as teachers go, and I could collaborate. No longer do I, as Renee is teaching a 6th grade ELA and a 7th grade ELA, she might have now just 6th grade, and I might be a counterpart. A school of 1,000 students allows for us to have 3 teams, and we can actually communicate between those 3 teams. What happens sometimes in small schools, and I know the educators in the room hear this word called tracking, and what we do is we label students in a specific group. I'm in the advanced group, and sometimes inadvertently we create this advanced, this middle group, and this other group, right? This allows us to have 3 groups that we can actually, if we need to, mix and mingle between, because we have more opportunities for students. So from that teaching and learning side, we're definitely excited. We think it provides more opportunities for students as well as the teachers in the room. And from the facilities, the operation of the financial allows us to have one nurse, one this, one that, rather than separating it over the course of 2 different schools. So I think from a resources standpoint, we can streamline as well as add and benefit for students. Any questions when it comes to teaching and leadership? And I rushed through, Renee, did I miss anything? She's here to.
Well, I can add a lot. You know
I
how
know.
passionate I am
Well,
about this.
there are a lot more words, but I kept it to most of the positives. And really, you're going to hear from leaders to be able to say yes, yes, and yes.
Basically, we can get a pretty new building at Oak Park now, but it's not giving more opportunity to students. The merging of the two just exponentiates that, right? So each school right now has 3 to 4 electives, we call, but when you put them together, that's a possibility of 7 or 8 that could actually feed into the high school. Like right now, when the high school comes over to our 8th graders, they're like, we have building construction, we have ROTC, we have all this, which they have no idea. But if we had a technology and a robotics class, which we do have the lab for, we just don't have the opportunity, wouldn't that be amazing to feed into that? Or digital design in the high school, or even the culinary to Chef Bell's program up at the high school. Other things, art programs, we talked about art. We have 2 solid lines of art at both schools here. And at the high school, they have 3D art and they have digital art, or digital art and then the traditional art. Wouldn't that be powerful if we could feed into that? So, and a lot of those programs financially can be purchased through the Perkins grant as long as there's a feeder associated at the high school. So we were thinking long term, how can we feed that program and not just put our 8th graders into 9th grade like, oh, here, now you have these opportunities. We can actually develop kids. And wouldn't that be powerful for the community itself to build it starting in the middle school level? So,
Right.
but our singletons, our teachers, speaking of our teachers, they're already merging together, both high school or both 8th grade algebra, geometry teachers. They kept going to each other's schools just to collaborate, driving to each other's schools monthly, quarterly. Our science teachers are doing the same. The staffs themselves are feeding each other, are asking for this, asking for not to be singletons. So I think the way we share it with the community, it's actually kind of boiling it up from within the need. So I don't know, I could talk for hours. Sorry.
You don't have to.
I would like to touch on that.
What?
You don't have to. We're good.
And just to
I'm just passionate.
support,
I'm like kids.
and to support maybe the Leesburg High School as being an ACE center school, this would also provide that global perspectives at the middle school and be that pre-ACE. Instead of trying to do it in 2 different locations, we get to really just collaborate, bring those resources together. So there are some definitely advantages of bringing the 2 and creating a robust opportunity for our students. All right, Mr. Farnsworth?
And part of, back to that communication process
Then before we get into this,
Oh, yeah.
let's go ahead and ask Mayor Barry, do you want to speak from the community side, since we're hearing?
I was going to say something that might, so for her knowledge also, just
Oh, go
briefly.
ahead, real quick.
And that's basically that we're also preparing to engage the students on the choices that are going to happen at the schools also when it comes to classes and what are their interests and, along with how they align to the high school, but what are their interests and what do they see fit, along with staff also. So while we're building a plan, allowing people to be informed and share what they'd like to see as parts of the plan also as part of it. So.
Good morning. Thank
Morning.
you so much for this opportunity. I have been addressed with Mr. Brandenburg as well as Chad in reference to this possibility of combining 2 schools. I am a little concerned. I know that we do have 2 great leaderships presently, and I know bringing them together based on what I have just seen, sounds like a great opportunity. My thoughts will be, as you stated, planning them for the next level, the next going to high school. And one of my biggest concerns is the safety that goes on in the area of the school. So it will entail not just the school, but it will be the stakeholders in the area as well as our policing, because there has been lockdowns at the schools more so than what we want to count. I'm speaking from the district in which I represent, and these are all factual information, so it's not just hearsay, as we know. But I definitely think from the financial piece, makes sense. Bringing together and offering more opportunities for the children makes sense, as well as extending and providing a better facility makes sense, if I can say. So the capital projects would have to be in place and to accommodate for the kids. I heard the question about Mr. Dodd, referencing of will the parents and the have an opportunity to speak. Personally, I think that might not be a bad idea because I can't speak on everyone, but I know as the city, it would be a plus, I think, to take the kids that are walking now to be able to be on a bus. That's more safety and secured, as well as the kids that do have to walk, provide a better route or way that they can walk to school. Because I think Griffin Road, it'll be much more populated when we have now our gas department moving that way. The electric department is there. Of course, our fire station is right across the street. So that's more activity on the main roads. For our safety, there's sidewalks there, but I'm just looking at the whole big picture. But for a comment to say supportive, I can say yes. I see what you're doing, and I understand based on conversations and listening from board members and getting my thoughts, and just want to know, I just want to make it great opportunity for the education piece for the kids, great opportunity for the security piece of the kids, and great opportunity for the stakeholders and the kids. So all that makes a school, which makes one Leesburg, and that's my focus. So that's my comments.
Thank you, Mayor.
If I could have Principal KT come up to the podium first, and then Dr. Langley's going to come and share, because they're the ones with the kids every day, right? So, just how it impacts them from a culture and logistics standpoint, and just what their thoughts are. Sure.
Good morning. Just with the conversations that Dr. Langley and I have had, the opportunities for our kids, Dr. Langley and I talk all the time, and our teachers, we put them together intentionally to work together because we are Leesburg. Those are our kids. These are our teachers. And so we want to do what's best for them. I think in the long term regarding culture and combining students, a few years ago, we did have an influx of kids come over, and looking at that transition to merge the kids together logistically when it comes to school safety, like Mayor Berry mentioned, logistically, how we have the school structure when it comes to the monitoring pieces. You can walk on our campus if you've ever visited, and you stand in the center and you can see the entire campus. During transitions, our students transition within the pod areas. So we're all able to be out and see all of our kids. We do have teams because it is kind of like a small learning community within. So having the team of core teachers together, they all have the same kids, not having those singletons. Because of allocations lost this year for the first time, I've had to have teachers now, okay, you may have a third prep this year. Just trying to prep my teachers because they haven't had that, where Tammy has been dealing with that for a long time. So just the opportunity for collaboration, pulling our teams together, being able to be on one campus, and just to merge that and then be able to work together. I'm excited about the opportunities for the elective choices because we have had to cut those choices, and they don't have very many choices. We talked about our bands. We both have full lines of band. I'm like, it would be great for our kids to be able to be in a band program that they want to be in and not have to take band one just because there's nothing else really for them to take. But that means that's good for teachers. That's good for classroom management. So just everything. And to work at our schools, you have to have a heart for the kids. And, it's Leesburg is Leesburg. It's our Leesburg. It's our community. And you have to have a love for our kids. And I think with the history of Oak Park, our teachers working together, they have the love for our kids and the longevity that can come with that, being able to maintain. It's so much, we kind of talked about it, but just being able to retain staff because of the opportunities that it will provide and enhance with what we're already doing. So I'm excited. you know, there is the leadership question, and you know, Tammy and I are like, hey, if it's in God's will, whichever one is supposed to be there will be there, and so we're working together to just make sure what's good for the community is good for the community, because it's our kids. It's our kids.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity for both KT and I to address the school board and the community that's here. I'm not going to repeat what KT has already said. You said it so beautifully, as well as other people. But I will say this: none of us know what the future holds. But what KT, our stance is, we want to do what's best for all of our children. She mentioned facilities and longevity of teachers staying at our building. When she said that, my memory was jarred at a teacher that came on our campus for a sporting event. And she said, Dr. Langley, I would come and teach for you if you had another building. When our students are walking down the hallways and they see various things there at the building, at our school, I do believe that them being in another facility would help them and motivate them. They have the criticisms of what the building looks like and, you know, all of the jokes about Oak Park, but they still forge ahead. As well as our teachers. So I think this merger is going to be something that is going to be a blessing for all students. I believe that our students, as has already been stated, will have opportunities that they have not had before. I believe that our teachers will have opportunities that they have not had before. We are a professional learning community within our district, and having just the opportunity to collaborate with other teachers that are teaching the same subject, and as has been forestated, not have to worry about 4 and 5 preps is a huge thing. Also, our families, being able to walk onto a campus that they can be proud of, walk onto a campus that they feel like their students are getting the best of. And so I think Mr. Farnsworth mentioned a word, he said a word earlier, and he said equal, so that our kids feel like they're getting the same opportunities that other students within their community are getting. So we are excited about this. As far as the leadership, as KT has mentioned, whatever is in God's will, it shall be. And we'll roll with that. But thank you again for this opportunity to speak to you all.
Thank you.
So we've got some next steps. So immediately, as I mentioned earlier, we'll have some faculty meetings that go on. And as soon as we address the 2 faculties this afternoon at both Oak Park and Carver, we'll start communicating to really hear that first layer of communication and reaching out to our stakeholders. You see on the Tuesday, June 2nd and Thursday, June 4th, really to message to parents and families. We feel like, and staff members, that's out of that first layer. And we'll also get it out to the greater part of the community also. But we know it's short timeline, right? So we'll build off of those 2 opportunities for people to share and provide input into what the plan continues to look like as we build it out for the kids. And then that rolls into the Monday, June 8th board meeting where the approval of the design contract and approval of pre-construction agreement for DACG would occur in front of you guys for consideration. And then I'll let you speak to the last piece because there might be some more detail in there.
Yeah, and then as I come back to you with next year's capital plan, usually I workshop with you in July and then come back for adoption by September 15th. Then right now what you see is that Oak Park Leesburg K-8 line item. And so now there would be 2 line items, basically one for this Carver project and then one for the Leesburg Elementary School project. And that was where I would try to accommodate Mr. Brandenburg's
Thank you, Ms.
request.
Randall.
If I can. No promises. But basically that would be, how we work through that technical process of board approvals.
Super.
Okay. So now, if you guys have some additional discussion or questions, we're.
Yeah, I'd like to
we're
start
all
with
ears.
Mr. Brandenburg. I know you've done a lot of.
Yeah, if Mr. Chair, if I can ask Dan Miller and Candy Harper from the City of Leesburg, they're here from Planning and Zoning. I don't know if they've got any comments, but I do have a question for them that I think will be helpful to the conversation. They certainly manage the growth in Leesburg, and they know it better than anyone else. So I'd like their perspective from the growth side, because it's no secret that we're growing, but I think there's a misconception on how fast we're growing and approved lots versus CO'd properties. So just kind of want to speak that through as we look at the projections.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, Commission. My name's Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning Director for the City of Leesburg. Leesburg is experiencing a great deal of growth right now, but most of it's coming in the form of zonings. And zoning is not growth, it's change of color on the map, which allows you to do something you couldn't previously do. Right now, we're probably looking at certificates of occupancy for around 20 to 30 homes a month, and that's it. Now, there are some recent projects that have come on board down Highway 27. I may need Candy to help me with the names on some of these because we have a lot, as you well know. Most of our growth is coming down on South 27, both sides, rolling down to the turnpike. That's going to be where the majority of it is. Most of that will be single family, and I know Ms. Randall and her group, we work with them closely, and they have some calculations as to the number of students that each of those creates. We have one down there, Windmill Road, that is going to produce about 400 units, I believe, in there. And then we have a couple more that are getting started. Whispering Hills, which is very large, we expect about 2,300 units out of that one. It's approved for more, but that's the yield is going to be about 2,300. And that one has been being cleared. And then another one south of that, which goes by the name of the one on the bottom, the very south. Candy, do you remember?
I believe you're talking about Barkey.
Barkey.
Now known as Grace Grove.
That's the confusion. They come in as one name and they get another when they're built. Barkey has about 1,700 units. Most of what's happening is non-55. Right. Now that's where you get obviously the students from. We do also have some that are considering going to a 55 plus model. So that'll take some of the load off of there. But for now, I can't speak to the future except for what we're seeing on the ground right now. For now, we're running 20 to 30 homes a month for certificates of occupancy, meaning that you can now move in. We do anticipate over the next couple of years that number will increase. As you also know, the villages came into Leesburg and they will be doing quite a number of units there. However, no direct school impact on that. Does that
Yes, it
cover-
does. No, I just know that there's the conception out there that we've got whatever the number is, 10, 20, 30,000 approved lots between South Leesburg and North Groveland, that whole 27 corridor. But how many of those homes actually get to the CO stage? And I certainly agree that number will go up. But
The number will go up, but there's also one other consideration to keep in mind is over the past 2 years in our PUDs, our planned unit developments, what we have done is put in a 4-year sundown provision. So if there is not substantial commencement, meaning turning dirt within 4 years, those zonings are going to revert to 1 acre per unit, not 1 unit per acre. Those are different. So keep that in mind. 1 acre per unit means you have to put out 1 acre to put 1 unit on it versus clustering 10 on 1 acre. And so some of those are going to end up not happening. And then there's also the consideration of water. Water is going to control the future, and in Florida, I believe. And we have a certain capacity that each city has a certain capacity of consumptive use permit, X million gallons of water a day they can use. If that capacity is used up, everything has to stop. So yes, we have a lot of units. It's pretty much in a manner of setting up a competition, and who gets there first gets the water. After that, a lot of these will expire.
Thank you. No, that answers or provides the information I want to get on the record. Because I know I see the notion all the time on Leesburg word of mouth on different pages that our schools are overcrowded, everything else, and we certainly have some work to do, but we're not busting at the seams. And I think that the projections that Kelly's team tracked so closely and showed in this presentation is true. I know the last time we did the impact fee study for the student generation, it was 0.31 kids or 31 kids for every 100 houses. I'd argue that number's probably down a little bit with school choice and other options that are in there now, and the amount of those kids that go to middle school. So even if a large number of these houses get built, I still think the numbers are going to hold true, which then gets back to the argument of this is so much better for kids and being able to provide those resources together. I went to Carver. KT was a staff member at Carver when I was there. She's done some incredible work for a long time and continues to do that today. And just the opportunity for Dr. Langley, her staff, her kids, to get a better site that is better for kids and better for her staff and be able to provide those resources and do the rest. I just think it's a no-brainer to be able to move forward with. And then once you get to the very long end of that list, what this does for us financially to save the amount of not having to rebuild Oak Park, certainly not a driving factor by any stretch, but somewhere in the 20 million neighborhood that we'd probably save by not rebuilding Oak Park as a half capacity campus, and to Renee's point, a shiny new building without the resources doesn't help kids. So I think from all fronts, this is such a great thing to look at. And from Mayor Barry's perspective, less kids walking on South Street to school or crossing Lone Oak Drive to get to school will be a huge benefit. From that side, Principal Wolf at Leesburg Elementary, get her new building in the back and get out of those very old portables will be a huge benefit to what she's doing with her team over there. So I just think it helps the entire feeder pattern so well. And with the new leadership of the high school, getting programs in line, getting electives in line, can really do some special things and continue the great work that's going. So I'm very passionate about this. I think it's something that is a huge benefit for kids. Renee caught me after a parent meeting at Fruitland Park one day, and she got me for about 45 minutes going through it and laid out every single standpoint to the point of I had no holes I could poke in it. She has looked this through entirely and continues to do such a great job. So I'm fully supportive, certainly happy to be a part of all the discussions with the community moving forward, make sure they understand why we're doing this and why this is better for kids. But I think it's a fantastic idea, and thanks staff for their hard work and making it happen.
Mrs. Cunningham.
I have a unique vision of this, having worked at both schools, having been at Oak Park twice, and having been principal at Carver. I have had firsthand experiences with trying to establish programs that would feed into the high school and then having it be shut down. Spanish is a perfect example. KT was there with me as my AP, and we struggled to get Spanish at Carver. And of course, the children across town should have had the same opportunity. So needless to say, I wholeheartedly support this program. I think that it is good for everyone. I think it's good for the school system. I think it's good for the community. I think it's especially good for the kids. Leesburg has a unique place with me. I think I've worked in just about every Leesburg school with the exception of Leesburg Elementary, and it wasn't there then. But yeah, I think it's a good thing. So thank you for your hard work, and I look forward to seeing it. I'm glad you're going to get it done before I am no longer here. So I'm happy to say that I support it. Thank you.
Well, there's no doubt it creates a lot of great opportunities for kids, which I'm very, very excited about. I mean, when you combine that student population and what you're able to offer that you can't do now, I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? I also really appreciate the city's involvement, and I think you're in tune with what the community is saying and thinking, and so I appreciate that very much. I think if I thought of one thing that could just possibly be working against us, it's the timeline. You know, I don't want anybody in the community to go, oh wait, this is already a done deal because here's the open house, you know, like next week, right? So so I think just engaging how we engage as stakeholders in the community to be involved in this process is going to be very, very meaningful, and I know we'll be able to do that, but just keeping that at the forefront would give me the comfort.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's stop with that thought for a minute. Thank y'all very much. We appreciate it.
May I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Candy Harper, City of Leesburg, Deputy Director of Planning. It is a pleasure to work with your planning team here. And every opportunity I get when they're done with a map, I want to swipe it because that gives us a greater view of what's going on around us. And we're always happy to feed into the data sets that they have so that everyone is up to date. And I also want to say that everything you've done in the past created a student that has now gone on to UF and the planning department and is going to become an intern in our office this Thursday.
Excellent.
She is intelligent, she is educated, she is poised, and we're pleased to have her. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Candy.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I will say that's reciprocal. The city has been great to
Yeah.
work with.
And I want to, if Mrs. Owens could address, because one of the things is this whole community perception that you mentioned, and we don't want, like Orange County, over and over you hear about them closing schools, blah, 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 and the whole negative side of that, which seems to be a little bit not accurate. But how are we going to let the people know how positive this is? What's our marketing plan?
So I think a big part of it is a little of what you heard today, right? Some of the examples you heard, what the students have now versus what they will have going forward. I don't know that a lot of parents or a lot of people in the community understand that. Just making sure people understand the before and the after. We talked about the whys. Mr. Farnsworth said a lot about that. Making sure that they understand why we're doing this and why we're taking this approach as opposed to the approach that we originally started with. And I think once everybody understands and has an opportunity to ask their questions, and we get a chance to hear from them. It's not totally a done deal. We want to hear their input and where there is opportunity for us to take the kinds of things that they want to see in that school, where we can fold that in and make it a part of it. I think everybody here would certainly want to do that. So that would be my suggestion, Mr. Mathias, is just to make sure people understand the before and what the after will be and why we are taking this approach and just what it's going to mean for everybody involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And to piggyback on that, I think, when we see these other districts, what we're seeing are signs of instability. And this is not driven by instability. Rather, because we've got the money, we can go build them a flashy new building there at Oak Park, but that doesn't do anything better for the students, right?
Exactly.
So that's the message that I really hope we capture in there.
That's the plan.
I know you will.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Dr.
Thank you.
Luke?
I was just going to say, I think there's some benefit too. The plan prior was to merge two schools, and we were going to make a K-8. That was what was on our original plan, and we are still merging two schools. We're just approaching the two schools that we're merging together a little bit differently. I think my concern too was that when we were merging the two schools, thinking back to the original plan of Leesburg Elementary and Oak Park, is the plan for Leesburg is going to address what the needs for that building were. I know it's not as old as Oak Park, right? We'll just leave that there, but that will address the needs that we have at Leesburg still. So we're still meeting what we said originally the intention was to do. I think that's kind of important in the messaging as well. So just my 2 cents, and everybody
I
else.
understand.
Yeah.
We'll definitely fold that in. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I don't have anything to add. I appreciate the involvement that you have and the perspective, bringing that forward, and everybody being here. There's no reason to repeat all of that. It sounds like a great plan, very well researched and thought through.
And to the point, I'm so excited that we're doing something like really quick. I think this is the first in 14 years. I know of. And I do think that it's important that as we go through and you have these listening sessions, which all of this is like light speed, boom, 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 that there's something to be said for leadership. And the way this thing's been thought out, that I don't see that a public forum, unlike what we experienced with the Claremont, it's completely different. It's kind of an apples and oranges scenario that leading says is that we're going to do this and we're going to move quickly. And I think that's also needs to be some of the messaging, that these kids are going to see the results quickly. So I think that's a positive. So, Mr. Brandenburg, thank you for your engagement.
Thank you. I've got one other comment for the board, and I think that we'll address this at the community sessions. But when I was speaking to some stakeholders before today, one comment that came up a couple of times that I thought was really insightful was when we look at merging these two schools, can we look at a subtle rebrand and certainly not change the name of Carver, but look at either the color scheme or the mascot and find some way to bring that Oak Park charm and character into it as a fresh start, as a new opportunity, not just say, okay, all you Oak Park Knights, you're now going to be Carver Red Raiders. So in my form, just thinking of a little bit, maybe combining the color schemes of keeping the red and the silver and the blue, do a red, white, and blue theme or something along those lines. Call them the Titans, call them something else. Let the community be part of that process. But a new color scheme, a new mascot, and a new beginning for Leesburg and Carver Middle School, I think would go a long way to really putting the bow on top of this and not just feeling rushed in that we're combining kids for opportunities, but not being thoughtful as we go about it. So,
Okay.
May I say something about that?
Yes, ma'am.
I think it's important that the Oak Park kids feel a part of the community, but we need to be really careful what we do with trying to rebrand too much.
Correct.
There's a lot of historicalness that goes with Carver, not to take anything away from Oak Park. But now if you want to get the community riled up, that's the way to do it. So I think we need to be very careful, and I see the mayor nodding her head. We need to be very careful about that.
So it was funny is that those are the type of things we wanted, that there is plenty of input left for, and that's the beauty of having a year. And we've even talked about having like separate student groups coming together, similar how you do with your superintendent's advisory committee, having some advisory with the staff and the students. But it's funny because I was thinking the same thing, right? There's potential landmines there, but there's potential advancement and making people feel like a combined culture. So I, for the heck of it, I was like, I Googled Red Raider logos. And it was funny, the first one that popped up, same colors, Red Raiders, but then it was more of a night. It was almost like it had merged kind of the school. So I think working with our great leaders there and having some appropriate channels for input, especially around culture, is going to be important. So I think that's the benefit of going fast, but also having a year. So.
Okay. Well, I would not hesitate, based on what I'm hearing from the board, that it will be probably a pretty easy vote.
Okay.
So go forth and build.
All right, we'll see you soon. Coming to a regular scheduled board meeting soon. So.
Okay, thank y'all. Okay, moving to 3.02, the district staffing plan.
Mr. Zamora? I'm just going to co-pilot for the whole workshop.
That's right. I need you to keep me within the lines. Well, good morning, board and superintendent. Back again at the end of the year with the staffing plan. So you all have a copy in front of you. So as I start sharing and presenting the slides, just know our senior staff is here. So if you have any questions, I'll have them answered respectfully to what they regarding the slides or the question. Okay. Well, you want to start with the first one?
Yeah.
Okay, the first slide starts with safety and security. And you may be aware, we are having a new principal, Mr. Schichtel is accepted a position as a principal for Tavares Elementary School. He's the district threat management coordinator in the department at this time. But with him vacating that position, it presented an opportunity for Mr. Mabry to make some changes in his department and some restructuring. So he's proposing deleting that position and making that position a professional managerial position as a district threat manager, and deleting a secretary position and creating a fiscal assistant, and adding a school safety guardian and one school safety guardian for a charter school. Basically, the net cost for that to millage fund is $26,876 and change. So
I think important with that is, we, based on need of the schools, we add the individual guardians, but as far as from a district department level, he nets a savings with considering what the support and structure at the department level and at the district level. But just adding the school safety guardians where necessary is what pushed that number into the positive. So I just wanted to point that out.
But, so I'm confused why we're identifying one and one. Why?
Because on the safety guardian, the charter one, we do not We don't pay that one. That's strictly the charter that
I
reimburses
know,
us for it.
but we don't have just 2 guardian positions.
No, these are just changes.
Oh, these, all we're seeing here is
Yes, sir.
changes.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry. Okay, now I got it. Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right. Next one. And the next one is the Information and Instructional Technology Services. And this is just a restructure of a position. It is the same position. Basically, they redid the job duties and responsibilities. And basically, we're deleting the system support technician and restructure it to be an IT operations and procurement specialist. There is no cost there. It's the same person. Next one is risk management, and they are deleting a legal records assistant and adding a claims manager to that position. That will create a claims specialist and a claims manager position for risk management. That would be a general fund credit of about 7,486 and change. HR, I will give you some updates because this one I have several changes. To give you an update on fingerprints, we have completed out of the 7 phases, phase 1 is complete. Phase 2 is about 99% complete with fingerprinting. We're in phase 3, we're about 33% complete. And district-wide, we're at almost 40% complete with fingerprinting. What we found out through the rescreening of all our employees based on the mandate has been that most of our employees have gone to satellite offices for fingerprinting. They have not made appointments here at the district office. It has stayed current with regular new employment. So one of the changes that I'm proposing on the Senior Human Resources, I'm reducing the employment screening and public record specialist by 1 instead of 2. But I am adding back a legal records assistant. And the trade of that is that over the course of the last 3 years, when you look at HR, public records have doubled each year. And part of it, I would like to thank AI for that. So, but it has gotten very, very, very interesting, to say the least. But because of the increase, I'm dedicating a full-time person just to take care of that. So, as far as restructuring, the HR technical and support analyst, basically, I'm just restructuring that position and making it have programming skills regarding for department needs, managing data. So overall, to general fund, that creates a credit of about $16,863. Next one, I have food and nutrition services. To create, one of the issues that food service has always experienced is having an appliance technician. We have a solid one. To create an advanced ladder so that we can train a second one, we are deleting one appliance technician and adding a lead appliance technician. So that will create support and a ladder position for somebody to grow. And we are reducing the area managers from 6 to 5, and we are adding a project manager for food and nutrition services. The purpose of this is this person will solely work with operations and facilities in all aspects of cafeteria remodels and upgrades. And just to update you a little bit on food service, Linda will be leaving us at the end of June. And she's basically contemplating retirement. And at that point, I'm still in the hunt for a food service director. We had a great lead, unfortunately for personal reasons that did not pan out, but we have found a second and we're in that process.
Maybe this is somewhat of a budgetary question, but there's always been this perception that food services had more money than they know what to do with because you can only spend it on food service, right?
Correct.
Are they still in that kind of situation?
Yes.
So I ask this because I was reading about some other school districts that are trying to cook more from scratch. That instead of getting chicken nuggets that have 35 ingredients, this was a line from the article, you can make them with 7 ingredients. And it tastes much better, right? Than 35 ingredients that go in the chicken nuggets that no kid wants to. We don't know what that is, right? But they say that the trade-off with that is it's more expensive for the product and more expensive for the labor. But other school districts are starting to do this. And so if we're still sitting on a ton that we don't know what to do with, can we make better school lunches for kids?
obviously that is something that I will have to research further and get back to you
I'll
on.
start sending you articles.
And I think Ms. Milliken has shared that it is trending that way, and she's trying to prepare her workers across the district, because most of the time it's not because they're choosing to do something like that. We know the nutritional regulations are constantly swaying back and forth with the wind, right? But she's preparing folks that there is going to be more scratch cooking. So the pendulum's going back that way, right? So I think the idea is to prepare for that, and we are assuming that it is going to become more expensive. So the hope is that the fund balance is healthy to contribute in that way also. So we're always at the mercy of what nutritional requirements they allow and not allow, whether it's no salt this year or more salt this year or no fat this year, or no, and all those things. So now we're moving towards minimal ingredients. So it'll be interesting to see how that trend plays out.
I'd be in favor of better school lunches.
Hey, me too.
Not to get off topic, but they did a showcase for us a few years ago where the vendors came in that were providing the food, and I thought it was all really good.
So my kids say the lunches look nothing like those
Mine did
lunches.
the same thing. They're like, Mom, we've never eaten this before.
That's right. That's not what they really serve.
Okay, well, that was a terrible.
I heard about it also, believe it or not. But I think it was valuable feedback.
That's certainly different.
It was valuable feedback if we did that again, right? Because I asked my middle school, Mike, do you see this stuff? And I will say the pot stickers surfaced, so she saw those and loved them. But there were a few things she's like, nah, didn't see it. So I think that's the not potential vendors coming in and laying out their spread. The people we're using and the food we're serving, and those vendors, what can they do to enhance, and maybe having another showcase using that feedback?
Well, it'd be nice to have the showcase and then actually use the stuff.
Correct,
that
right.
showcase.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the first time I've heard that. So that's bizarre. But the other thing I just want to mention is that in today's kitchens, our commercial kitchens are designed to heat and serve. So to go to scratch would take an awful lot of expense.
That's right. That's why I asked if they have more money than they know what to do with, because
Well,
there'd be some transitions that would have to occur, right?
I would like to add, something that we're excited about is that we are finally found a great nutritionist that's coming to us with some exciting new ideas. So we're hoping that brings a change.
Since we're just rehashing old, resurfacing things, one thing that I have heard feedback on, and now that I have a teenage boy in my home, I can attest to, is the portions that are being served seem very much the same. And I have asked that question and have been told that they do portion differently, but
I'm not seeing it either.
Yeah,
Because a sandwich is a sandwich. A burger is
Right,
a burger.
right.
The portion sizes don't change whether you're in kindergarten or 12th grade.
and some of these kids they're hungry.
They are. They're bringing a lunch from home and getting our school
Yes.
lunch.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So y'all have pre-dinner at your house also?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do pre-dinner.
Pre-dinner, post-dinner,
That's right.
dinner.
That's
yes.
right.
Okay, moving along.
Okay. Sounds like this is another workshop topic.
It's good. It's
You
good.
get your new director.
Sounds great.
Love to give
I
some
like it.
feedback.
We have lots of opinions.
That's right.
All right.
Moving on to the teaching, learning, and leadership side of the house, curriculum, instruction, and assessment. We, due to some of these cuts are based on people retiring or moves or department restructuring. So one of the managers of curriculum and instruction is being deleted, and a program specialist is being deleted through retirement. So that provides one was federal funded, the other one was general funded, so it provides those cost savings there. Moving on to the region's offices. On Region 1 and Region 2, we are consolidating the executive secretary to having one. One will be answering for all three. So that's why we are cutting those two executive secretary positions and one program specialist from Region 2. Those were funded through general fund, so it provides a cost savings to general fund in that position.
Did you say on that curriculum instruction assessment page that both the manager and program specialists were being deleted due to retirement, or just the program specialist was deleted?
As I start talking through teaching and learning and leadership departments, some of the positions are being cut because of movement, accepting of the positions, or retirement. It could be a variety. In this case, the program specialist, I know it was a retirement.
Okay.
The manager is not. The manager is somebody we're moving.
Okay.
All right, moving on to federal programs. federal programs, and they're reducing the programmatic technical analyst to half an allocation, and 2 program specialists and 1 secretary too. And 1 position I believe was vacated, the other one, don't know if I can't remember, but senior staff can answer to that one. Those positions are being reduced, providing that cost savings to federal funds. Choice and charter, we are deleting 1 ELC site coordinator and 1 ELC assistant site coordinator. And ELC is no longer being provided at one of our school sites, which is the one, it's Rhymes Elementary. So that school site.
Is that because of the transition to the?
Because of the transition of K1 and 2 to elementary schools.
Okay.
And they're offering the wraparound services now, and so there's
no,
basically serving the same purpose.
correct,
Okay.
because of the pre-K. So that produces a general savings to the ELC funding source. School improvement and alternative programs, and we are deleting the admin coordinator for student and support academic enrichment, and we had an admin on special assignment. That position is being also deleted. 1 was federal, 1 was general, so it provides cost savings at the bottom. One of the biggest changes you're gonna see on the staffing plan now is exceptional student education. And I will preface it, all ESC school specialists at the schools were typically allocated to the site. Now we're moving those positions back to district, similar to mental health. They report to student services, but they are sent to schools. We're moving ESC school specialists to the ESC department, exceptional student education. And with that basically, instead of being site-based allocations, they're gonna be district-based allocations. And that produces a decrease of about 8.5 total allocations from IDEA funding, which generates that credit.
I'd like to make a request that after we've had this in place for a period of time, if you could just report back to us on how that's working out to take away those school-based specialists and have them work out of the district office.
We are not, I would like to add, we're not removing them from the school side, we're managing the funding to district.
Right, I understand that, but in essence, each school is no longer going to have their own person like they did in the past, correct?
This year, as a transition year, they will have their person.
So this is not going to take effect until the next school year?
No, it's starting this school year, this 26, 27 school year coming up is starting.
Okay.
And it produces an opportunity for us to manage IDA funding.
Right, I understand that, but I would like to see how it's working.
Okay.
Because I've heard some concern from people about the fact that their ESC specialists are no longer school-based, that, that impacts the school and the running of the school.
So does that mean, I'm trying to understand, so does that mean that they would, like each school would get a certain number of hours or part of the allocation, so the same person might visit multiple schools instead of being housed entirely at one, they might visit 2 schools or 3 schools or?
That
Is
could
that right?
potentially happen with the schools that have very few students, correct, yes.
But not for this coming year.
But not for this coming year. Right now, we initially allocating them to district staffing plan, and we're gonna start monitoring how that goes on, but.
So how is there a savings if they're going to still be working?
I will partial funding through general funds. But it's, I would rather let Mr. Fellner, if you want to elaborate a little bit on that, because I'm.
You want me to finish?
Yes, if you can.
Yeah, so I definitely want to be clear that the 620,000 is going to be a savings from IDEA, but no ESC school specialist has lost their position, so we are utilizing those. And this funding just shows the change of IDEA funding. Schools will have the support they need for students with disabilities, and we have coordinated funding to ensure their support. So we have used different funding, either grant funding, other funding to make someone whole.
So this 620 is not a $620,000 credit. It really
isn't.
is being funded somewhere else.
Right. There is a savings. It's kind of difficult to show, but it won't be completely the 620. The 620 is a savings from IDEA.
From
And we
this
needed to
one
reduce
funding
that
source.
number Yes.
But somewhere else,
Yes,
the
sir.
620 is
Yes,
plugged
sir. Yes, sir.
And some grant
Yep.
funding.
in. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So we're not really deleting 8.5 people.
Correct.
Yeah.
In a way, we're deleting from the IDA funding about 8.5
Yeah.
allocations that cost
Right.
IDA funding.
I'm surprised we wouldn't show on here that what the new funding source is of those people so that we see that it's offsetting.
Yeah, we did have at one time. It was confusing either way, the way that we have done it, but you are correct. There is going to be another source I think it came out to be like around, I don't know if you remember.
No, I don't remember, but to answer your question, the reason you don't see it is because this is staffing plan, which are district-based allocations. Those allocations are going to be housed at the site.
Right.
So, school site allocations.
That's
So,
clear as mud.
yeah, so what you're saying is when principals get their allocation sheet, it's going to reflect
Yes.
that position. But how does that let us know what the funding source is?
It's going to be, well, I will have to check to see what schools are the ones identified to have a different funding source other than IDEA.
Okay.
All right. I just want you to know that the schools will be served, our students will be served with the appropriate services. Like that's hopefully the takeaway. And the other takeaway is that we are saving 620 from IDA, that every year we tend to be over. So we're just trying to make sure that we get in line with that.
So, Mr. Ward, where's the offset?
I apologize because I'm sitting up there trying to remember the conversation that Frances Ellis and I had, and fortunately she's not here today. But Frances had another grant that would cover it for 1 year. So they're going to
620.
cover up the difference for 1 year with that funding source. But at the end of the day, when the ESE grant cannot afford it, the general fund's going to have to make it up anyway. So
wasn't-
this year, they're going to have a funding source to cover it. I apologize for not remembering.
No, that's
what it
fine,
was.
as long as there's a funding source for it.
Yeah.
But wasn't there conversation, this was one of those fair is not necessarily equal, where we have smaller populations of ESC students at some schools and larger at some schools. And so this was an effort, if I remember right, it's been a minute, to reconsider, like if this school and this school have a smaller population, they can share one. It will do a cost savings, but it will also serve the student. Where our larger serving schools will have additional resources potentially as well, right?
Yes.
That is correct.
we
We're
don't-
getting away from giving everybody one no
same,
matter
right.
what. And we're going towards a model that says we're going to do it
What you
based on the
need.
number of students that have a need.
Right.
So
it
somebody
just-
might get 1.2 and somebody
Some
might
may get
Yeah.
more, some may get less.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
All right.
correct.
And I don't have a concern about that.
Right.
I just have a concern about knowing in the future how it works.
Sure.
And if the school leaderships feel that they're getting the appropriate amount of support.
And I think this is the way they see it breaking out. Once you've got a cushion year where people are whole and leaders can prepare for that. And I think the way they're discussing portioning out is 3 days here, 2
Right.
days there. So
Right.
it'll be broken into day support as we move forward.
Right.
And I appreciate Mrs. Cunningham's point. Like, I know it's moving, like the supervision kind of piece is moving. So it would be nice to have an understanding of
agree.
how they're feeling.
Right.
It's settling.
I think just being at the school level, schools use their individuals so many
Yes.
different ways.
Yes.
And
Yes.
sometimes it's not for the students. We want to make sure
Yes.
that the students are getting the services that they need and are required. So I think that was the shift. And I'd say, Dr. Luke, you said it perfectly. That's what we're trying to do. And I think Ms. Sellis did reach out to you individually. This is what she was
She
having
did.
that conversation around.
Right.
Because we knew we'd have some questions probably around it.
How many of these people exist today?
I think we have like 46. I mean, pretty
46,
much we had
okay,
them at every
that's what I
school.
thought.
So we did
So we
And
are
charters were included.
deleting
So I
it.
mean, this was one thing that we made uniform based on your number of students. This is
Yes.
how they'd be served.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think that helps me understand now. So there is a $620,000 savings because if there are 46 and a half of these people now, and you're moving 38 of them, and you're eliminating 8.5.
Yeah.
Because
That's
you're eliminating 8.5,
ballpark
that's where the
number.
620 comes from.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's a roundabout way to get there.
But the eliminations are from vacancies, attrition,
Yeah,
whatever
every-
else.
Yes, I want to make sure everybody has a job.
Okay.
Yes. And if schools wanted to keep their individual, I mean, we try to work
Fund it,
through
whatever, right.
who they like to have.
And we do have resignations or retirements in the ESE specialists. So that also open up allocations.
Cool.
All right.
Next.
I'm going to stay right here. Just
All right, next slide is student services. And student services is planning to delete 2 LPNs and add two nurse RNs and 3 psychologists. And obviously those funding source for those is millage. And that's the cost of this change for student services. And that impacts millage funding. Yeah.
And I just want to credit Dr. Luke. Last year, you said to our team, are you sure you wanted to do what we did? And we deleted them. We were incorrect. We should have listened. And now this year, we're bringing them back. So, for the record.
I remember
thank
that
you.
too. So.
Well, we remember. You were right.
Awesome.
Well done. Well done.
And then this last slide is basically just a summary of all the total fiscal impact to our areas per fund. And it gives you basically a generic total that it's a cost savings, including all funds, about $1.3 million.
Ooh. Well done. I have an idea of what we could do with that money. Okay, so it's a little bit of a go back here. So no,
Don't get creative with money now, Mr.
In all
Dodd.
seriousness, so my wondering, so back in the staff the school staffing allocations formula, there is a position of a campus monitor, right? And I'd wonder if East Ridge High School could benefit from one of those. And why I ask this, it has to do with the bathrooms. I know the superintendent's been knee deep in this. Chad, you've been as well. Is that I think that based on the placement of a lot of these bathrooms, there's a supervision issue, and as a result, they just lock them during the day. Which, Mr. Mabry, I know you had pointed out to me in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas report that why that's not necessarily a great idea. Just thinking about giving these kids access to bathrooms, how do we provide that supervision if they can't work with it within their existing staff? A great example, kids are taking an AP test last week. They get a 10-minute break. They go to use the bathroom. It's locked. They go to another one. It's locked. They go to the front office. They say, no, it's open. They go back and they say, no, it's really not open. They go back to the office and they say, let me go. The office goes. They're like, oh, now I need to find somebody with a key because it is locked. They got a 10-minute break, and so just trying to find an open bathroom is a challenge on there. I know those Halo reports are going off like nonstop. I sat in Mr. Mabry's office and there were like 200 alerts on the vape detectors over the course of a week. So I can see why they're locking them from that, because they're like, well, if they're locked, the kids can't go vape in there, right? But they also can't go to the bathroom. So I'm just wondering if this is not something that they can solve within their existing school staff. Is this something that we can provide for them with the campus monitor side?
Well, I've been kind of looking at that for next year. What is a low-cost job description that someone could also be providing some additional service and possibly some campus monitoring also? So that's something I'm looking into now, perhaps.
I mean, from the risk management side, at Leesburg High School for a while, we've had folks on return to work light duty that'll sit outside
we've
bathrooms
tried
and do some
of that.
stuff. Yeah.
So I want to re-engage our new risk manager to make sure he's kind of in tune with the possibilities there. But it got to where some of those people's reliability was a little spotty also. So it's a patch and not necessarily a solution. So we're going to continue to venture down the path of solving the East Ridge bathroom issues.
All right, thank you.
I want to go on the record. I'm not in favor of spending $1 million to solve that problem.
Well, I thought, we could put an additional assistant principal there, but in reality, we want them to be an instructional leader in the building, right? So like if there's a low-level position that can just monitor, but create more consistency than what we had with the light duty or modified duty folks. Because, they did send some folks out there for a couple weeks at a time, but, because it's not consistent, I don't think, you could really kind of change the culture. So
Could be a stipend kind of thing. Give them a stipend, somebody to.
Right.
Well, the problem is it's during the day, and that if you got a stipend, then that's paying them to do something else while they're supposed to be doing their other job.
We have leaders that are really creative in this district that are managing. I do think it's a problem. I do think it's a problem. I'll share off of the record what Emory's solution to this is. But regardless, I just feel like there could be some ways for us to do this with a culture change, but we are going to battle it. Anyway.
Well, I put it out there in case it requires something that needed board approval, but I'm happy if y'all can come up with a solution that doesn't. Either way, I would just love to see the bathrooms open. That's all.
Seems like a simple request. Okay, thank you. All right, all done. Thank you. Athletic update. Does anybody want a break, or are we ready to keep just pushing through?
You can keep pushing the camera around.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good.
We're all good? Okay. Athletic?
I'd like to invite our district athletic director, Mr. Pat Todd. What's that? Yes, I'll run the clicker for him. I'm good at this. I say that. I just want to take a second to recognize Mr. Todd and the efforts that he has put in since assuming this position. I mean, he's such a contributor to Lake County and the community as a whole, and he's woven strongly into the fabric of both the Leesburg community where he resides and also New Umatilla and all across the county. He has spent more time in the south end. I mean, he is all over the place. I'm not exactly sure how he gets to all the places he does, but I'm blessed to have a teammate that has a vision and is also an educational leader, not just a district athletic director. So he's here to provide some athletic updates today for things the legislature are doing to us and that we're going to do with them, and also some really neat things to wrap up the presentation of that, come out of his vision and for the things he sees for the future of what's great for our kids. So.
Well, appreciate the kind words and appreciate being able to address you guys this morning. Before I get into this, I'll just make a brief comment about Oak Park and Carver. I'm on every campus, middle and high school in our district daily. When I say daily, I'm at somebody's campus almost every day. And in my career, when I've seen campuses that are adult-centered, they're usually toxic. When I see campuses that are student-centered, those are thriving. I want to tell you, both of those two campuses are student-centered, and that's a tribute to both of those leaders. I've been around Carver and Oak Park for 35 years in some capacity of one or another, and it's a pleasure to walk on campus and see the interaction of those leaders with those kids. And so I know it's a big decision to make that transition, but I promise you the service to our community is going to be there, and I think it's the right decision that you guys are looking at. And thinking about athletics, there's been some legislative pieces that are going to affect us in Lake County. So Senate Bill 538 has a lot to unpack in it, and it really kind of unpacks in three different areas. First is a coach's compensation piece, which was really pushed by a football organization. To be honest with you, it has included now all coaches. The reality of it is it's not going to be funded by DOE. So the way they are suggesting it could be funded is through booster clubs or athletic associations. So a booster club or athletic association could raise X number of dollars and determine they like to pay a particular coach that money. It has to go through the district office to be done that way. There are some challenges that I think are before us that we will need DOE's guidance, and that's when it comes to Title IX. How do you have equity if we're going to pay, let's say, a football coach X number of dollars? How are we paying our volleyball coach, and where's that going to land? So right now in our county, we don't have thriving booster clubs raising big-time dollars outside of Umatilla. Umatilla is the smallest school in our district, and they are out raising everybody 2 to 1 on a good day. So I've got a lot of people asking me how to do that since we instituted that at Umatilla. And to be honest with you, that takes campus leaders to have connections with their communities that perhaps are a little bit more intimate, where the trust level can be different. But we can change the landscape in Lake County if we raise money a little bit differently. But that's coaches' compensation. Another piece of that is that legislation now allows boards to consider coaches and athletic directors as administrators to negotiate contracts. Just so you know that that's out there. And we've appropriately talked to our people about where we are in Lake County and the great opportunities we have to serve kids, and employment's a choice, and we all chose education for all the money, and so we're in it for the right reasons if you're in it. So that being the case, there, student eligibility is probably the piece of the bill that I think helps us in Lake County, and I think helps athletics in general in Florida. But it is going to kind of paint the brush of non-traditional students and traditional students in the same way. In other words, when you enroll in a school in August, that is your school of athletic choice for the rest of that academic year. So the idea of playing multiple sports at multiple schools in one calendar year, theoretically goes away. The good cause policies that districts were asked to create 2 years ago are now something in the past since the governor signed that bill, and good cause now only is administered by FHSA. The 3 criteria for good cause is if there's a divorce in a family and there's a court-ordered change of address for a student, if DCF comes in and removes a student, or if there's military placement. However, there is a clause in that that says in FHSA's approval. So are there loopholes? Without question. If a kid moves from Georgia to Florida during the middle of an academic year, why wouldn't we grant eligibility for that? So that's certainly going to be the case. The next question is going to be, well, what if I move from Sumter to Lake? Well, I can tell you right now, I deal with more false addresses than you can shake a stick at. I've had people claim divorces and send me paperwork that's not valid, just to move from Mineola to East Ridge in the middle of the basketball season. So we'll have all those challenges, but those challenges will be dealt with FHSA. The other piece of this that I think is going to really affect a lot of kids is homeschool students currently are able to participate in our schools whether they live in Lake County or not. This bill changes that. Now, a homeschool student can only participate in the county in which they live. So, to be honest with you, of the athletic issues we deal with that are somewhat challenging, probably 85% of those are non-traditional student issues. We've got a bowling issue in South Lake County that is difficult to sort out, but that is really about non-traditional students that don't live in Lake County. And so that will help us a little bit. Same thing with charter schools and private schools that don't offer a particular sport. Currently, they can come and play the sport in our county if our school offers it. Now, they cannot do that unless they live in Lake County. So take MDCA, which has some students that live in Orange County, and they don't offer water polo. Could they participate at water polo in Lake Mineola? Only if they live in Lake County. And so the exception to that is if our public schools in Lake County do not offer a particular sport and they want to participate in that sport, then it would have to be a partnership with an adjacent county, Marion, Osceola, Orange, Sumter. And so I think that helps us a little bit to get out of the good cause business.
I'm a little bit confused. So what I heard you say earlier is that you have a home school, so it's wherever you live. Now you're saying if you live in Lake County, you can do.
No, wherever you begin the school year is the school year. That's the school you have to play at. But if that school doesn't offer a sport, let's say MDCA didn't offer basketball, for example, well, then they would have the opportunity to participate in basketball at a school in Lake County if they live in Lake County.
Any school.
Any school in
But
Lake
once
County.
they make that choice, they're stuck with that school.
Yes.
That year.
Yes.
That year. Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
So to give you an example, we've had kids play football at Leesburg and basketball at Tavares in the same school year. That no longer can be the case. So if they want to transfer to Tavares, they can.
And kids from different counties playing.
Yes,
you know.
they can if they want to start at Leesburg and play football there and transfer to Tavares, they certainly can. They just can't play athletics at Tavares for the remainder of that school year.
And no kids from out of county.
Correct. No kids from out of county.
Coach, not to get too deep in the weeds, but for example, Hope down south and East Ridge, South Lake, that kind of deal. What sports do they offer that this would affect? I mean, because Hope doesn't offer football.
They
at least
only
as of
offer
yet.
basketball currently. Okay. And to give you an idea, we have 17 students that attend at Hope that play football at East Ridge. Sure. I think we've got 3 that play at South Lake, none at Mineola currently. Hope Academy advertises on their website that we don't offer these sports, but you can play in Lake County schools by state statute. That state statute still allows that as long as that student lives in Lake County. So if Hope has a kid that lives in Orange or Sumter attending their school and they don't offer that sport, they'd have to go to Orange or Sumter to play a sport in the county in which they live.
Let's say they don't make the team at the school that they want to go to.
Once you try out at that school, that's your designated school.
You're done.
Yes. So, and we've had that, kids who try out at one school and then want to get a good cause to transfer to another school. But if you try out, whether you make it or not, FHSA and state bylaws require that's your school. So I think that will help us in the good cause business. And what it doesn't do is it doesn't stop the transition of summertime. So we just had spring football ending. We've got 22 kids in the high school transfer portal who are now moving from one school to another because summertime is school choice, and it makes it difficult. So there's challenges there for certain. The other part of the bill that's a little bit interesting is we now can charge our non-traditional students who participate with us up to $400. We are not a county that has pay for play. If we were a county with pay for play, we could charge that homeschool or non-traditional student the same amount of money that we charged our traditional student. But since we're not a pay for play, the max we can charge is $400. I don't mind telling you that we have a number of kids who are using our extracurricular resources but not taking advantage of our educational opportunities. And so how we balance that and what decisions you all make going forward. In the county athletic directors discussions we have monthly in the state, the majority of counties are going to assess a fee for non-traditional students. I think there is some challenges on how we go about that. How do we determine what that fee actually is? But the max would be $400. So something for future consideration.
So the kid that's non-traditional now applies to play ball. We can charge that family $400?
Correct.
Per child?
Correct.
Because we're providing all the facilities, we're providing all the staff, we're providing, we're
Athletic trainer, athletic director, right.
and they're getting it all for free. Meanwhile, they're taking their voucher or whatever it is, and they're already,
Well, they can use the voucher dollars, I'm assuming, to pay the $400.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean,
So why aren't we doing that?
So is there a requirement to charge our students?
No.
If we're going to charge the others? That's
No.
what I wanted to be clear on. So.
no, if we were to, let's say we were charging a kid $1,000 to play football, our traditional student, then we could charge a non-traditional $1,000. But since we don't charge for pay for play, we can only charge up to $400. I don't think there's anybody out there that I've talked to in terms of district athletic directors who their superintendents or leadership team have not considered this and said, well, why wouldn't we charge $400? Because to be honest with you, the investment from the district side is much greater than $400 per student athlete.
How many kids are we talking about? Do you know?
We probably had north of 200 kids that were non-traditional in Lake County this year that played athletics. And that number's growing.
I don't know why we wouldn't, particularly since it really doesn't hurt the family
Right.
because they're getting about.
Out of their
It doesn't hurt the
PSA.
family. I mean, reality is they're getting $10,000 roughly.
Right.
Is that 400
And
per
that
sport?
$10,000 is actually
Probably.
coming out of our budget.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's 400 per sport.
Per
correct?
sport, per student.
Yeah.
Per sport, per student.
So what do we need to do that?
Right.
I think we just the board needs to make a decision and post that.
Oh,
It does,
how about that?
we do have to post it on the website. And that's part of that criteria, and I can work with Mr. Farnsworth to get you the information
Yeah,
for
well,
that.
We'll look at, I know there's been some research in school choice, and I believe
Dr. Byfield
is-
had a very good meeting with a number of stakeholders within the district of talking about that, not only in athletics, but science fair. I think we had a student that went to a pretty high level in science fair, a non-traditional student. It cost us a little over $6,000 to send them.
Yeah.
So that's something I think by consensus we want to look into.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The other bill that I think is less impactful is Senate Bill 178. It's really known as the Teddy Bridgewater Act, and that allows a head coach only, to spend up to $15,000 of their own money to support their team. And this was really born out of Teddy Bridgewater is an NFL quarterback who is out of the Miami area, coached a high school team in Miami, and was providing benefits, let's just say it that way. So this bill was born out of a good legislator to decide that was a good idea, and so this is the compromise. So a head coach can spend up to $15,000 on his team per year. If they do so, they have to disclose those expenditures to the FHSA, DOE, and Lake County Schools. So I don't foresee us having a lot of that happening in Lake County, but that is the reality of it. Those benefits can be provided that way. Looking at
what does the money, 15,000, so I'm a coach
Yeah.
and I want to give my quarterback $2,000.
No.
Hey, what's the money?
It's really meant for
Food,
It's
transportation.
meant for food, transportation.
Scoreboards.
You know, so I coached for 37 years, half of that at the college level, the other half of that at the high school level. And I promise you, we're driving kids home every day. If you're, I mean, in my early days at Leesburg, if I wanted to practice in the summer, I had to do it before 8 a.m. So I picked them up, we fed them, and at 8 a.m., watermelon truck came by and they took them to Sumter County to pick watermelons. That's back in 1991, 92, 93. And we paid for those breakfasts out of our own money. That's kind of where that goes. The permissible benefit is we weren't buying Uber rides and steak dinners and
Protein.
all the stuff that goes with that. Yeah.
Training.
Yeah,
This 15 grand you're reimbursed, or is this just
No.
allowing you to do it?
No, it allows the coach to do it.
But you did it before it was allowed then?
Did it differently
So is there
though.
a statute
it
of
differently.
limitations?
There wasn't a couple about how much
So
Yeah.
if I can, like there were coaches that would go pick kids up for school, bring them to school, let them, he
Yeah.
wasn't doing
So,
that.
so what's
was.
not permissible is a coach cannot give transportation to and from classes.
Right.
So those
That happened.
that happens in spades, and it's happening right now in some of our football programs, and it's happening in South Lake County in particular. So we, and that's hard to chase down, to be honest with you. But yes, that happens. So now that's permissible if the head coach only pays for it. So $15,000 per year per team. I don't really see us having to get in the weeds of that, but our athletic directors are meeting with their coaching staffs now, and we need to create, probably with Mr. Ward and Mr. Farnsworth, a reporting mechanism for that, because it has to be filed with DOE, has to be filed with Lake County Schools if they spend those dollars. So.
And he's going to the highest bidder.
House Bill 1135 is the Second Chance Act, and I know you all talked about that, but just to briefly give you an idea, we're now required for EKGs for all of our incoming ninth grade students. So if they want to participate in athletics, they have to have an EKG. That EKG has to be read by a pediatric cardiologist. Which we don't have a lot of those running around in Lake County. We don't have a lot of those in the state of Florida, to be honest with you. Who we play for is the one who sponsor or push this bill through, and they are the ones we are currently partnered with. They have grant money, so it's $20 to get an EKG. Their team sends that to pediatric cardiologists. So if you have a screening within 24 hours, you're supposed to get an email with your past screening. If you fail the screening, you get a phone call. And then you're referred to a pediatric cardiologist if you choose to use them to get cleared. All of our middle school students, we have serviced through that. That rollout has not been as good as we would have liked. We've had some challenges with that, but we've been able to partner that with our high schools. High school students, 10 through 12th grade, if you're a first-time participant, then you have to be screened. So if I'm a 10th grader and I didn't play sports as a 9th grader, and I decide I'm going to go out for track, then I have to be screened. So one of our concerns is how do we catch those kids who make that determination after the spring screening? The remedies for that, where they were going to provide us with a machine, train our trainers to do it. It's electronically sent. That has been a little bit shady in terms of how that's going to roll out. So right now, what they're planning to do is provide on-campus screening dates in the early fall. So we still have some challenges, I think, that we need to meet with their owner to remedy that. But right now, we're in a really good place as we go into the summer with EKGs. Are there any questions about that?
So when you say first-time participants, first-time participating in a sport or a different sport?
High school level.
Just,
First-time participant of any sport at the high school level.
so if a kid played tennis last year and they want to play soccer next year,
They're fine.
they're fine because
They're
they
fine.
already did a sport. But
Correct.
if they were
Correct.
So if you've done no sports and now you're going to
Correct. So where I see this going is eventually, everybody will be screened as a 8th grader going into the 9th grade year. Right now, it's a one-time screening. And if you had a screening 2 years prior to now, that screening is acceptable. I feel like they're probably going to want us to do this on multiple years, every 2 years is what I think is going to be the next push. But currently, right now, that's not on the legislation.
I'm thinking about just the accessibility and the education piece of this aside for parents. If I think a lot of parents are probably going to their own child's pediatrician, right? And I assume they're probably all up to speed about the law changes because they're probably, got more than one kid
They
coming in
are,
for this.
and a lot of those pediatricians don't have the testing equipment.
That's
to do
right.
it.
So that's my wondering. So then that going back to their pediatrician is not adequate anymore.
No.
And so are we doing more on campus physical nights?
It's all being done on campus. So, for
We're doing more of
example,
those,
Umatilla Middle School, the Who We Play For team came in, and we signed all those kids up and ran them through.
Eighth graders?
Eighth graders.
Okay, good.
All eighth graders.
Like, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's
He's
only
seventh graders.
only eighth graders. Parents have to sign a waiver to have it done. The parent can opt out of it for religious reasons. We have not had a parent do that at this point with all of our schools, middle and high school. But you're right. The availability of it's difficult. Miami-Dade rolled this out 5 years ago, and they were having those read by a regular cardiologist, experiencing a 50% fail rate.
Oh my gosh.
To get into a pediatric cardiologist, the season could be over with before they ever get seen.
Right on.
So the one piece about Who We Play For that I like is they have a team of pediatric cardiologists that these machines send electronically your test to. It's read by pediatric cardiologists, so the failure rate is less than 7%. If you fail that is a red flag you probably need to get looked into. So there is, the reality of it is no one wants to see a child have a sudden cardiac event. And so does this avoid that? It's probably a step in the right direction. Is it a challenging piece of legislation? Yeah, I think it is.
So thinking about, just some parents are not as forward thinking as others, right? And so, let's say you got a ninth grader next year, and maybe there was a physical night on your eighth grade middle school campus, and you're like, well, that's forever away. You're not going to. The high schools are going to have lots of physical nights in the fall, I hope.
No, they've had their physical night in the spring, but they'll turn around and Who We Play For will come in and do a screening. We won't have a physical night, but it will be a screening day for anybody who needs an EKG or ECG.
Then these parents need to still go to their doctor to get their physical, and then they'll also go get the EKG. Correct. So they got to go two places now.
That's correct.
And let's say they're playing a spring sport. This Who We Play For, are they coming back in the spring to?
We're going to have to have something that helps us. Otherwise, kids are going to be lost in the dark. And so the remedy that they shared with Chad and I were they would give us a machine as a loaner to each high school campus, train our trainers to do the test. That's great. If that finds itself a home, then we're golden. The problem is now they're talking about wanting us to purchase a machine. And so that's where we've got to go back and revisit our contract with them and our discussion. But that's where we need to get is where we have a machine on campus with a trainer trained to give it.
That's right.
And that would solve our problems because it's the one-off kids that I'm concerned about getting bogged down and all this because it's not really available.
That's right. Some kid plays, he runs some hurdling event. So he's track and field in the spring, and then, if you're not there in the fall to do this, then I don't want to get left out of,
100%.
Just because I'm not thinking 5 months from now, I'm going to need this EKG.
Yeah, and kids are going, coaches are hunting for kids, especially spring sports.
Yeah.
Track's a prime example. There's tons of kids who decide to run track in their junior or senior year for the first time and have never played a sport before. And weightlifting's another one that sometimes that happens with. And so trying to service our kids at the highest level possible has been our concern. And we liked everything they had to say. And I'll be honest with you, their service when they're on campus has been excellent. We've been very pleased with that. Just not real excited about the change of direction, wanting us to purchase machines. That's a different piece.
How much is the machine?
More than I think we were prepared to talk about. I've been told anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000.
Which just saved $1 million.
So we've looked at partnering with our local health partners and hospitals and things. The trouble you run into is that pediatric cardiologist on the back end to read it. And because if we can get the machines that deliver and train people that can do the scans, which is I don't think too overly technical for somebody that's got a slight medical background and licensure. It's getting it to, because if you send it to a regular cardiologist, then you're forcing families in that 50% failure rate, right? And they're having it, then they're struggling to find the pediatric cardiologist. So we're still trying to tie up some of those and build bridges. It's just been difficult. That's why for years we looked at this group, and I had difficulties with getting on board with them. Once it became law, I'm like, okay, well, here we go.
So far, they've been the best option, and I think Chad and I are the same mindset. We're looking for a better partner if we can find it.
And I think beyond that, I mean, I think the intent of this bill is solid, but as we've talked about, the current legislation is only for athletics. It does not go to marching band or ROTC and the rest. So we're saying that an athlete needs to be screened per legislation, but a ninth grader with a tuba on a football field in 100-degree weather, who I would argue has the same level of risk, is not required to be screened. So are we screening anyone yet in that arena?
No, we are. As a matter of fact, to take that a step further, you're not even required to have a physical to be in marching band. So when I was a principal, one of my greatest fears was summer marching band camp in Florida. Kids who are not used to the cardiovascular piece that goes with that, and it's not uncommon for us to have kids on Friday nights in their full band uniform, which is pretty warm, to have some issues. And so it's never made sense to me that they aren't included in the physical requirement in the EKG piece now.
How many kids did you say non-traditional that we could collect that 400? How many kids?
We're over 200.
That's 80 grand.
Yeah.
You can buy machines.
Yeah. I mean,
there's your funding source.
As far as charging a non-traditional student, I would encourage you to consider doing that.
What buys us machines we need?
The EKG machines.
I don't think anybody's against school choice, but I think everybody in this room would say we disagree with how we're funding that. Right. We're funding it through public school money, and that's killing us. And the reality of it is that we have the best product. We just have to tell our story differently. One other thing I want to share with you before I get into this last little piece, I know y'all have been here long, is shot clocks for basketball. Shot clocks are now required. And so, I'm against the shot clock, not because I don't like it. As a college coach, I loved it, to be honest with you. But the management of it is difficult. Game management alone in Lake County, we struggle with that. If you go to most basketball games or volleyball games, you have a 16-year-old student running the clock. And when you're playing in the playoffs, I don't mind telling you that's concerning. Now all of a sudden we're going to put a shot clock out there, and so. They're going to use a 35-second shot clock. And of course, that resets to 20 seconds on a rebound. And you've got to know all these pieces that go with that. But with that in place.
Announcer Luke, come on down.
Well, I'm wondering, do you foresee
By the way,
baseball?
You do a great job on the
Thank you.
PA.
I appreciate that. Do you see that coming for baseball and softball between pitches too then? Are you?
At some point in time, somebody's going to, but this came out of Charlie Ward in the Villages, and that's who's pushed this through. And nationally, we have a lot of high school national federations are trying to go to shot clocks. And to be, to give you the argument, does that prepare you for college situation better? I would say yes, it does. Our coaches will struggle on how to manage it. But with that being said, we are installing shot clocks in our schools, so electricians have already run the power for it. We have 3 schools that do not have wireless scoreboards, so we're having to replace those scoreboards. We got a great price, and you guys have already approved that. The vendor we're using is a vendor that when I was the athletic director and head coach at Florida College, he serviced all of our venues. He saved me so much money there, so I've used him to repair scoreboards here. And his price was really good, and his product is excellent, and his service to us will be good. So I feel good about that. I'm still apprehensive about how schools are going to manage that. Some schools will do a better job than others, but game management is important. So thinking about the student athlete experience, and I'll say this: I think principals who use athletics right realize that if you use athletic coaches, their power of influence to move your school academically. That's the sweet spot. And all of our schools really need to embrace that differently. If we're just hiring coaches to teach them how to put a ball in the basket, I think we failed them. We got to hire people who invest in kids, who understand that that's their venue to push them towards what really matters, and that's a well-rounded, balanced education where we can teach kids how to dream and how to realize those dreams. And in trying to highlight our kids and our coaches, we're forming the Lake County Athletic Conference. So it's a public school conference of our 8 high schools, and it's a way for us to shine a light on what our coaches are doing, what our student athletes are doing. You know, back in the late 80s and early 90s, we had 3 newspapers covering our athletics in Lake County. I was the head coach at Leesburg. I had to have a press room because we were nationally ranked all those years, and you know, it was, we don't have that today. So our kids really get overlooked a lot. And so this is a way to kind of shine a light on that. What we'll have is a Champions Cup based on points. So every sport counts, and they all will play each other either in a tournament style, a one-day event style, or regular season schedules. The only sport that we won't do that in is in football because of district mandated play. We'll use Max Preps rankings to determine that. But it's a way to honor the most successful athletic department in our county, kind of like the SEC does with the Champions Cup or Commissioner's Cup. We're also instituting what we're calling the Champions of Character Sportsmanship Award, in which if you go to Leesburg High School, we're going to ask you to rate them on their student athlete sportsmanship, their coaching staff sportsmanship, the facilities, the game management, all the pieces that go into having a great student athlete experience. So every school will vote on that for every sport. We'll take those votes, put that together, and present a year-long Champions of Character Sportsmanship Award. We put both of those 2 pieces in place with middle schools last year, and it's really, I think, helped us refocus a little bit on what really matters, and that's producing great men and women through our vehicle of athletics. In addition to that, we'll have a first team all Lake County athletic conference for each sport. And so your coach will nominate their players, and then coaches will vote based on the criteria that we send out. They can't vote for their own player. They will send that to their ADs. Their ADs and I will conference, and I'll make that team, and we'll put that in the news media and provide certificates for that for each sport. We'll do the same thing for Coach of the Year and do the same thing for Athletic Director of the Year. So it's just a way to highlight our athletic departments, our coaches, and our student athletes. And at the middle school level, we've already started that process the last 2 years. We'll now add that in to picking a first team all Lake County Conference for each particular sport, Coach of the Year for each particular sport, as well as athletic director. In the middle school level, we're really going to be doing that by divisions. So we have a north and a south because they don't play each other until the playoffs. So it's a way to highlight that and really create more of an interscholastic feel in our middle school programs. We started a playoff system last year in which we put the runner-up from the north against the champion from the south, and the champion from the south against the runner-up that way. And so we have a 14 playoff. And what it has done is it's put all of our middle schools have still been in the playoff hunt going into the last week of the season, and this is our second year doing it. So games become more meaningful, and I think kids and coaches have really enjoyed that. So it's been a good piece. The last thing I wanted to share with you is middle school soccer is co-ed, and we've had a number of pushback coming from the community, predominantly from South Lake County, that we need to separate that. And I would make a strong argument that we do need to separate it. I think there are some challenges with some of our schools able to field a full girls team. We have a mechanism that I think could overcome that, but that's something that's before us and something that at some point in time, I think community pressure would be stronger than we would want to take on. And I think it's also the right decision as we look ahead.
It's funny you mentioned that because the whole time in your presentation, I was waiting for questions so I could say, let's talk about middle school soccer.
Okay.
And precisely that, so I live in South Lake County and I'm not a soccer person. I'm still trying to understand what offsides even means. I thought it was obvious from the football world, but anyway, but I see it. Yeah. I see it is huge. It's absolutely huge down there. And
well, there's no question that if you have an 8th grade boy slide tackling a 6th grade girl, if you don't have some trepidation about that, I'm not sure sure what you're looking at. And I can tell you right now, we would have more girls want to come out, I think, if it wasn't co-ed as well. But our schools are ready for it. Our principals have all, I've talked about this with them for the last 2 years, they're all in favor of it. It would require us doing a combo coach probably. And Chad and I have talked about that, but we're certainly at the doorstep of where I feel like we need to be proactive and not reactive to community interest.
And honestly, I would push this a step further and say, okay, so in some of the schools, I mean, these are some large middle schools down there.
Yep.
A sixth grader has like zero shot of ever making a team.
That's true.
Right. And so I'm wondering, where's the avenue for that? Like, are there JV options? Should we consider that? Even if it's only, if you don't get that everywhere, you get a few. Like, I just, it's disappointing as sixth graders say I got a zero shot.
Yeah, I think in schools like in East Ridge and Windy Hill, to be honest with you, combining Carver and Oak Park will create an athletic powerhouse, to be perfectly honest with you. Yes, we can create whatever y'all want to create. I think the question is, do we want to finance that?
That's it.
Right.
And so I think we're in a really good place athletically in Lake County about trying to be character driven and also be excellent in what we're doing. I think we have some work to do in trying to make sure that we're hiring coaches that are about our mission of really equipping kids for the future and using their ability in athletics as a platform to move schools academically. I think we got some work to do there in terms of how we hire. I'm of the opinion that lay coaches have a certain role in our county and will always have it. But if we can have a great on-campus coach, I think that's the best place to be. And to be candid, we've got work to do in our female athletic coaches. We've got to be strategic and intentional about trying to find high quality coaches to impact our female student athletes.
Coach, I've got one question for you on the conference side. Will this allow us to do a better job of record keeping and stat keeping?
100%.
We've talked about that before and try to do
what
a
I'm trying to create is a system to honor kids, not only for today, but historically as we move forward, and to give them a platform to really begin to market our kids collegiately. You know, when I first started coaching, if I had a Division I player, I didn't have to do anything with them. They all came to me. But I had a network to get small college kids in. Today, with the college portal, scholarships are few and far between for the high school kid. At my last recruiting, I'm only 7 years out of being a head coach at the college level. And I can tell you right now, I could not afford to take an 18-year-old kid. That kid gets me fired. And that goes against everything that I've ever done. When I was an assistant at Georgia State, you know, I recruited high school kids. As a head coach at Florida College, I started recruiting high school kids. I had to take portal kids and JUCO kids because I couldn't compete if I didn't. I needed that 21-year-old kid who was ready to go, and that 18-year-old kid that I needed to develop. I didn't have the luxury of doing that. And that's what's happening to so many of our high school kids right now. They're good enough to play at the next level. They don't have a place to go. And, you know, with the COVID years, everybody was getting an extra year back. So we're finally out of that this year. But the problem is, to give you an idea, the Final Four happened and we had 3,000 kids in the basketball portal. And I got tons of friends coaching the SEC, ACC, guys that I coach with, guys that I work for, guys that work for me. The football portal right now, and most of those kids will not find a Division I landing spot. They're going to trickle down to Division II. And so if we don't raise our standards of what our coaches are doing with our kids academically to put them in a great position to have schools of choice, then we're missing it. So I really feel like principals have got to be intentional about hiring not just coaches, but educator coaches, coaches that understand the power of using their platform to move kids in the right direction. I appreciate being here. Thanks.
Actually, before he sits, I have a question. I'm sorry. Listening to what you just said last, is there a point when principals, I know normally when I was a principal, you met with assistant principals, but seldom with the principal. So is there a time when you could share some of this thought that you've been giving us today to principals? Because I never heard any of that.
Well, it's interesting. When I first got into the job, a lot of people knew who I was just because my family and I have been here for a while. And even when I coached collegiately, this was still our home. And so that opened the door to some conversations. I can say with Mount Dora, Umatilla, all of our principals talk to me pretty intently, with the exception of one school that doesn't. But all their other people talk to me. So I'm on their campuses a lot. And what's been interesting about it is when you're on campus, like when you do a walkthrough, it's hard to get it's hard to know intimately what's happening on campus because you're just there so infrequently. But when you're there on a weekly basis, you get to see how students interact with teachers, how teachers interact with administrators. And then because I was a principal for a long time, we have conversations that are not just athletically driven. But I can tell you, and I've told Chad this, hiring is a skill. It's a skill. And I think a lot of our principals, they end up hiring because they're in the role, but not because they've necessarily been trained to look for. Hiring people that have your same core values, that share your mission, that have the skill sets. I mean, I had an algebra teacher, actually a calculus teacher. She was phenomenal as a math student. She couldn't teach the Three Bears. And I inherited her, so as a principal, I've got a teacher who's super smart, but she can't relate to kids. And so I think it's that whole piece. Most of our principals don't understand that athletics can drive your school if you have the right people. If you have the wrong people, it can hurt your school. And so you got to hire coaches that are in love with kids who realize that that's just their platform to move them to greater things. And so I would love to have that discussion with anybody who would like to. I was lucky when I was a private school administrator, we financially turned the school around, and that led to some people asking me how to do it. And so I still do some of that consulting with small colleges and private K-12s. But it's about hiring the right people. You did it well.
Agreed.
You did it well. It's about hiring the right people, and they got to share our mission. So if you're not in love with kids, then work in Sumter County. But we need people here that are going to love kids.
So
Thank you.
I was bothered by a statement you made. There's one administrator that you're not able to work with?
Oh, no, I can work with them. They just don't have those conversations with me. Yeah.
One. And we know who that is?
We'll work on that.
We are? Okay, yeah. That's troubling because you have an awful lot you're bringing to the table.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. All righty. We're at board member comments.
All right. Wrapping that one up, Coach. Thank you. You're an exceptional leader. Grateful to have you part of our organization still. Thank you for what you do. Board, thank you for a very good workshop. I think we got a lot accomplished today, and looking forward to the future. Guido, thank you for your work per usual on the staffing plan, and overall just moving in the right direction. I think graduation season is almost over. We've got virtual tomorrow is the last one, and the few that I've attended have been wonderful, but just wanted for a minute to shout out Dr. Eric Sahusky at Lake Success Academy. Miss Cunningham and I were there. Miss Sabrina Dillon Banks was there, and Dr. Byfield was there. He does such an incredible job every year. Really recognizing and encouraging his students. He went 6 for 6 on graduations this year and just made that ceremony really, really special. Instead of just calling the 6 kids up and handing them their diplomas, he had a bio on all of them and just his experience with them and his staff's experience with them, and had them write a little note to their teachers and their students about it, and just did such a phenomenal job. So I just want to shout him out and the rest of our students and teachers for getting through almost another school year. Looking forward to the end of it being here and grades wrapping up and hoping for a positive outcome. But I think it's been another excellent school year. So thank you.
Well, he covered everything I had on my list, so I'll be really brief. I think that the opportunities in Leesburg are great, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to all play out. I'd like to congratulate all of our sports teams that did well. Certainly, that shows the heart of our athletics program, and I'm very proud of that. As a grandma of a person who thinks he's a soccer star, I was happy to hear that. Although he doesn't play in Lake County, in his county they do have co-ed, and that's a problem. But I'd also like to say something about our athletic director. I am so grateful and pleased that you are a part of Lake County. Having seen a lot of people in your position come and go, it's nice to have someone who sees the whole picture. and that's very rare. And I think we're very fortunate to have you. I too think it's been a great school year. I'm looking forward to next year, looking forward to all the good things that are going to happen. So thank you.
I'm also very appreciative of today's workshop. I heard just so much student-centered conversation, and I think that when that is the core of your conversation, you're in the right place. Graduation season was certainly a lot of fun and certainly very rewarding to be able to just look those kids in the eye and shake their hand and congratulate them on the work that they've done. 700 hands at East Ridge High School. That was, I almost needed like a little massage there at the end of it. It's kind of fun to be able to do the big one and then turn around and same day go visit Lincoln Park, which I think there were 16 or 17 or a much smaller number. But that doesn't mean the energy level was any less. You know, that their second graduating class, super exciting. That shows us that what we're doing out there is becoming a tradition rather than just like a one-off fluke, right? So anyway, it's great work. And June the 8th, I won't be at that meeting, so I'm going to trust you all. I'll be in some remote part of Alaska on a mission trip, which is super exciting for me and my family. But I'll leave the good work of the district in your hands that night.
I won't be here June 8th either. So I'll be with Edward Cullen in Forks, Washington. So not in Alaska. But Pat is a new grandpa for anybody that doesn't know. So congratulations on your new status as a grandparent. And thank you for the work you do. And I need to give a huge shout out to Tracy Clark and Eustis High School and Matt Burgess. He's our athletic director. So as every year, we always, I shouldn't say as every year, the Eustis High School softball team has been very successful over the last several years. And every year we run into a conflict with graduation. And Tracy has done a phenomenal job the past 7 years I've been involved with it of not having them overlap. And we finally had the overlap happen. All 4 teams that participated in the region or the 3A state classification agreed to move the game time an hour earlier so that our girls could play in the state championship game and get back to graduation, which was amazing for all of them to concede to that. And then Tracy made a point to have a spot designated on the field for the parents because they were also concerned about getting late to graduation and having parking and having seating. Everything was accommodated. And when the girls came in with their medals, they were acknowledged appropriately. And so it was just, it's amazing for them to be able to play in a state championship softball game and be recognized as high school graduates on the same day. And for that school administration to make that a priority was significant. I know you work with them closely, both of you, so I appreciate the work that you do with that. We did not take it home. I'm just going to put that out there that those girls had a wonky first inning to get settled in, but fought the whole way back. We just needed like 2 more innings. I believe we would have had it. So they'll be back next year. That's all I have to say about that. I also, I think that's actually all I had. Clark High School. Yep, that's it. So thanks.
Okay. I've got a couple things. One is great things happen when we don't live in silos. And Mr. Brandenburg, the work you did to set the stage and the communication that we did with the City of Leesburg, I think played a big part in everybody embracing this change. The hard work that was done, the super speed that it's going to get done, all of it's amazing. It all happens when everybody's working together. And so that's to be complimented. We have another work together, and that is to talk about today, what are going to be our next step with our superintendent? And I've asked Mr. Zamora to kind of give us some options of what can happen so we can kind of discuss what our next steps are going to be.
Well, all I can say is now that you're bringing that up, and what I'm planning on doing is bringing you options as to what that process will look like versus whether it's internal, advertised, or private national search. So, and with that said, what I'll do now, I'll find out, I'll get all the information ready for you for the board to review options as to how to move forward.
Mm-hmm. So we want to go ahead and put that as a workshop item?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So we can go ahead and get that scheduled when everybody's back.
Sure.
Or we can do it to June 8th.
Kind of an
Let's do it to June 8th. I think June 8th works for me.
Obviously not June 8th.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and then that's all I have, Superintendent.
No, I think you've said it all. I cannot believe Friday is the last day. It's been a great school year, and I just want to thank everybody for the hard work. It was clearly evident, the visioning. Thank you, Mr. Farnsworth, for bringing a great vision for what I know is going to be an amazing opportunity for kids with Carver and Oak Park. So that's exciting, and so yeah, thank you, Coach Todd, and thank you, Mr. Zamora, for all your work that was evident today.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, with that said, meeting adjourned.
Alrighty, the final Alaska mark.
Natalie, why was I given this?
Enjoy yourself. Just for, don't keep after signing that. So.